Jason, today's episode of the Lee's Summit Town Hall podcast is brought to the good people by Budget Blinds.
Budget Blinds!
Hey, did you know Signature Series automated shades provide a safer environment for children and pets due to their cordless nature?
All hail those robot shade overlords.
Did you know that? I mean, is this new?
Well, not for us, but, in case you are listening now, perhaps you have started the subscription in election season to wisely listen to the dulcet tones of Nick and Jason, and you are unfamiliar with our robot shade overlords in the Signature Series automated shades. Now you know.
Now you know. Those programmable features, they allow you to use heating or cooling only when you need it to hit maximum energy efficiency. So if you're ready, Jason, to make your home a smart home,
you want to make it safer and more efficient,
go see our friends at Budget Blinds of Lee's Summit. Tell them Jason and Nick sent you. Hello and welcome to this Friday episode of the Lee's Summit Town Hall podcast.
I'm here again.
Yeah, that's Jason. I'm Nick, and we have a special guest. We are back on the candidate trail this week. So on Friday, we have 3 Board of Education candidates. We have Kim Fritchie, Mark Leetch, and Matt Niewald. Welcome, guys.
They are situated, by the way, left to right across your audio dial.
Thank you.
Wow, that's like old school baseball. Baseball intro there.
You're welcome.
As we do each time, we base these questions off of some Q&As that we send each and every candidate. We will not ask everybody the exact same questions, but we do follow similar paths and themes.
We will follow up.
We will follow up. We don't like the forms where we get 9 of you in a row and we ask you the same question, and then 30 minutes later or an hour, we forget what we were talking about. So we're going to have a little fun. We're going to let everybody know who you are, what your perspectives are in the district, and then we're going to get to the one and only question where we actually judge you. We don't do endorsements, but we have one question where you will be judged.
There is a right answer to the last question.
And judged harshly.
Okay.
So everybody knows, I'm going to start. Kim Fritchie, the really tough questions come first.
Minute or less.
Why are you running?
I'm running for the school board because I am the only incumbent running for the school board this session. And I'm running because, frankly, I'm not finished. I have been through some ups and downs with the board in the last 3 years. And I feel like we have some work to do still. We hired a great superintendent, and I want to see that he gets started on a very positive path and that we work together in collaboration as a team to improve on our performance and do much better for our students and for our community.
Okay, I'm going to be mean, and I'm going to skip right over Mark, and I'm going to go to Matt. Matt, you get to go second. Why are you running?
I'm a 15-year resident of Lee's Summit. I've currently got 3 children in the system. I've got 1 at Lee's Summit High and 2 at Pleasantly Elementary. I'm also a small business owner. I think my past leadership roles in various associations, both at the state and national level, give me a unique skill set and experience, along with my experience of actually being in the classrooms or in the school setting with my children. I think that brings a different perspective to the board that we maybe haven't had on a large scale in the past.
Mark, same question to you. Why are you running?
Well, in my professional life, I work for an insurance agency, and we have a very large book of public entity business. And part of the services that we offer is executive search. And I work closely with the different districts around the metro area. And what we're hearing is Lee's Summit is challenged to attract top talent. That's 1. 2, my wife is a 27-year retiree of the school district, and she's a wonderful lady, a wonderful educator, very passionate about what she did, but she couldn't wait to retire. And I think some of the actions coming from central office and the board has created a culture that is lowering morale. And this is a district that I grew up in and I feel very strong about, and I would like to see it restored to the great district that it once was.
Okay, well, we're going to start off with, I think, one actually where there's going to be a fair bit of agreement amongst the three of you. All of you talked in one way or another about the importance of the bond issue and how it relates to the future of the district and the growth of the district. So, Matt Niewald, we're going to start with you. How do you mentioned your mentions about improving transparency and things of that nature. How do you plan on bringing that focus on transparency on the finances and the works of the district, especially in light of the bond issue and its potential passage?
Well, first off, I've had significant experience with looking at budgets in the past, and I think one of the big things is I obviously support the bond. I was on middle school planning team. Lee Summit's facing some significant capacity and infrastructure issues that need to immediately be addressed. But also with that, we have to keep the taxpayer in mind. And it's a rather large number with that bond. And I think it's incumbent that we have a board who is going to provide fiscal oversight and keep a constant eye on those projects as they're prioritized and implemented. I think through that process, too, as we're trying to sell this bond to the public, we've got to have an open and transparent process out of SLC as to what we're actually doing and how we're utilizing those taxpayer dollars to the best of their benefit.
All right, I'm going to jump in real quick. I'm going to say SLC because we're all probably going to say it, but SLC, the Stansberry Leadership Center. I like to be clear every once in a while, Jason.
Why?
I don't know.
Why start
Every once in a
after
while.
3 years? Why start now?
It's not Salt Lake City.
Matt, I'm gonna follow up just a little bit because you said you have extensive experience working with budgets. What is that experience? Where does it come from? Because all I know about you is that you drill people in their teeth and you make them scream in pain.
It's
Wow. You've gone, like, I thought I was the mean one, and you're over here besmirching the man's dentistry.
I'm not sure that's entirely an accurate assessment. So,
I may have a fear of dentists.
To
Sorry about
elaborate
that.
I've held various leadership roles, both with the State Dental Association and the National Dental Association. My role at the State Dental Association, I'm a past president. During my tenure as the incoming president and the past president, we ran into several budget crises where we had to literally line item the entire budget. We spent 2 days hunkered down in a conference room, and we put a litmus test every line item so that we could find where there's overlap of resources, and we were best utilizing those resources without having to raise dues to our members, because it was in 2009, so it was a bad time to start asking for money with the recession. I also have quite a bit of experience. I was a delegate to the American Dental Association's House of Delegates, which operates in an interesting manner similar to Congress, but we provide the oversight and develop the budget for the entire American Dental Association, which is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So, and that's a lengthy process as well. And when you have 400 some members in the room providing oversight of that budget, it gets pretty extensive as far as how deep you dive into it.
Awesome. All right, Kim, let's move to you. How do you see the role of the bond issue and in the future of the district as we go?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I think that the bond issue is critical for us to pass the passage of this no tax bond issue. And
all right, stay on brand.
And I'm staying. Yeah, I'm staying there because I think there's some from some of the things I've been hearing. There's some confusion as to that fact, okay, is that it's not going to raise people's taxes. That's the first thing. Yes, it's a large amount, but every single item in that bond issue is necessary. We critically need more early childhood classrooms for our students. That's very, very important to get our kids started on the right track. We really need that fourth middle school. We need the upgrades at the other middle schools. Lee Summit High School is a 1956 building that has not had any significant alterations over the years. And I was there and graduated from that high school in 1977. So I can.
I thought you were going to claim you were based in there in 1956, and I'm like,
no. I wasn't around in 1956, but I was there around in 1977. And just the fact that they want to improve the infrastructure of Lee Summit High School and create a safe passageway from Building A to Building B, those two main buildings, and through there is very, very important, as well as the addition to Mason Elementary because they're crowded, and all the safety improvements. This is just such an important issue, and we can't afford not to pass this issue, honestly.
I'm going to follow up with I want to get back to the transparency issue a little bit. I think
Okay.
we've had a lot of people, a lot of candidates have talked about it. We've had a lot of people in the public talking about this. Maybe can we trust the board? Can we trust the district to do this thing? What kind of transparency is there going to be? Can you make happen so that people feel comfortable with this giant bond, this big price tag that they're approving be spent?
Well, first of all, I think when you advertise, you have to prove that you're going to do it. Okay, and they're very specific on the items that are on that bond issue. They're advertising it, and it's not false advertising. And we as a board have to follow up on that. We have to provide oversight for that and ensure that each of those steps is going to happen in the future, to make sure that every single item is provided for our students, that we can provide for our students and for our community. It's vitally important. So the communication has to be clear. We need updates on that regularly. We'll get updates at board meetings because that's what we do, okay? And we'll provide those updates to the community. We just hired a new executive director of public relations, okay? And she will be on board, and she will be putting those updates out.
Mark, okay, so you once again, you talked a little bit about trust issues as well when you were doing, and we're going to start there and then roll into a question that will follow up. But where are you on the growth of the district and how perhaps the bond issue or other issues relate into that?
Well, yeah, there's just been unbelievable growth in the city, and the school district, along with the water department, police department, everybody has been challenged to keep up with that. And this bond issue, this no tax increase bond issue, is absolutely critical that it gets passed so we can manage that growth. As important as it passing, if it doesn't pass, it is absolutely critical we have the right people to make the right decisions going forward.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick with you, and we're going to take that, and we're going to roll right into our next topic, which is a little bit about you. You mentioned in your question about talking a little bit about rebuilding that trust with the community. About you had noticed talking about understanding and respecting the new superintendent, Dr. Buck. How do you balance that vision with this need to provide oversight to maintain, or in probably most of you's case, to rebuild some of the trust issues that we may have with the community?
Well, I think it starts with the staff, not just the classroom teachers, but food service, transportation. All staff members have got to be made to feel that they're an important part of the school district. And I think once that occurs, then it goes back the other direction towards central office and towards the new superintendent, and we can start to trust each other again.
I'm going to stay kind of on this similar theme about communication and trust. And Matt, one of the things you talked about in your questionnaire with us was you talked about difficulties with dissent, and you talked about the school board speaking with one voice, and you even went as far as to say that calling for policies that there not be dissent. And I want to ask you about that a little bit, because how do you as a board engage with the community in issues where there is disagreement if dissent is not allowed among the board?
Well, as I said in my survey, and I went through this with the Dental Association, where we had to change our governance policies and put strict policies in place. And I'm a firm believer in policy governance, and basically what that says is when a board votes on an issue or establishes a policy, the board speaks with one voice, and typically through the president. And I think that's existing policy right now. I think it's anytime you have a dissent, they're welcome to talk to people about it, but when you publicly display a dissent or use local media outlets or social media outlets, you have weakened the board to such a degree that you become completely ineffective. So that's why having governance policies for a board, and I'm a firm believer one of the first things I want to do is go in and review those and make recommendations on what we need to adopt to prevent that from happening. As we all are well aware, that happened multiple times this last year, and what that does, it complicates the transparency issue, because everything that the school district positive is trying to put out is being overshadowed by all this negative and dissension and whatnot. So I'm a unifier. I'm a relationship builder, and that's kind of my big reason for running for school board, because I think we have to come together. I've been here long enough. This community has always come together. Having a strong board, it starts at the top. If you do that, we have a great opportunity with Dr. Buck to establish a good working relationship with him, let him put his administrative team in charge, and it trickles downhill. And I think if he can establish good working relationships between SLC and our teachers and staff, we're going to boost that morale and regain that public trust.
Well, okay, so I want to follow up, and I think maybe this is just a clarifying question at this point. One of the things I thought, that's out there is that disagreement is fine as a thing. So at the dais, I think there are going to be times when the vote is not 7-0. Mm-hmm. Are you anticipating these policies sort of prevent dissenting votes, or are you talking about dissenting talk after?
No, not at all. I mean, dissension is good in debate and when you're considering and establishing public policy. But, once the board has voted and the majority has voted and you've established policy, it's incumbent that board walk out the door and they speak with one voice. Otherwise, what's the point of having the board there in the first place?
Okay. Well, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that.
I want to come back one quick thing, and this is where I totally understand, because the marketing side of me says, of course they have to be with one voice, and then the journalist in me is like, but I want to hear all the voices.
Absolutely.
But so let's go back to last year. There was a moment last year where 2 of the board members voiced their reason for the dissenting voice after a big vote. That doesn't happen very often, but I think they would say that they felt like they wanted to give their reasons for that. So is that something that you don't want to happen?
I think there is an appropriate manner. I mean, the board currently has policies in place that the board president is the spokesperson for the board. I think anytime we're not talking about a 2-party system like Congress or anything where, one party does one thing and the next one immediately goes out and holds a press conference. I think it's very unhealthy in a community like ours when the board has voted, a majority voted, and then 2 board members take it upon themselves to, publicly, make statements. I think it's a disservice to the district. I mean, at the end of the day, we're here for the staff and the teachers and the students. And to create that type of discord from a 7-member board is extremely unhealthy for our district.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Kim, I'm gonna come to you and kind of follow in on this. You sat through and made some, significant votes, and flipped a vote in the end, mm-hmm. On these matters that were of great dissent, mm-hmm. And disagreement on the board going for things. So, and I'm going to say this in the most pejorative way possible, but that's just where we are. So you kind of helped make the mess. I know that not alone, obviously. How do you as the existing ongoing members of the board, mm-hmm. Should you win re-election, how do you go about rebuilding that trust with that?
Well, I think the important thing is that I think we've lost sight of the fact that a board is technically a team and that we need to have teamwork. And when you work as a team, you may discuss and you may have differing opinions, but you need to listen to one another and you need to respect one another, and then you place your vote. And as Matt said, I agree with what he said, is after you have placed your vote, then that's it. Our board norms, we have board norms that say specifically, once the vote has been taken, the board goes with that decision and does not go out of that room and may have other opinions and dissent that decision. That's our norm. And that's what we're expected to follow because we voted on those norms. Okay? So, I mean, once a decision is made, we make it, we move on. And if I'm in the minority on that decision, I just, I go with what the majority says and when I walk out of that room.
Okay. Well, I mean, I certainly understand that. And I think that obviously there was the equity plan, or the execution of the equity plan and the decisions surrounding the parting with Dr. Carpenter. All of that was just, there was a lot of public unrest. There was a lot mm-hmm. of disagreement, and on the board there were, relatively clear sides, which is fine. I mean, once again, that's just disagreement. It's not partisan, but it is, mm-hmm. it is disagreement. and it does not, it strikes me anyway, and I think and you can look in the public commentary in general, that we haven't really gotten through that yet over the last piece of that. How do you anticipate, because once again, you were there. I mean, if Dr. Niewald or Mr. Leetch were to win their seats, regardless of you, they can come in and go, I'm the new guy, it's fine, right? But you were there. And so how do you work through that process?
I think we work through it with a desire and a commitment to make things better. It wasn't our finest hour the last year or so. It just wasn't. We have to own that, okay? But we have a place to go forward in a positive way, and that's what we need to do right now, is establish those norms as a new board. And as a new board, all agree that we will move forward with those, and we're going to do that positively, and we're going to respect one another, and we're going to work as a team. Because honestly, we have to do that for the sake of our kids and the sake of this school district. Because they were right when they said, both of these gentlemen said, we've got to work our way back to excellence. Lee Summit School District has been known for its excellent schools for years and years. And we've slipped, and we've disappointed our staff members, and we've disappointed our community, and we need to do better.
Hi, I'm Jane Monroe, owner of Embrace the Grape and District 4 resident. Donnie Funk has my vote for City Council, and here's why. Donnie's time serving on the Planning Commission, his experience in the construction industry, and his work as a small business owner has given him the insight we need on City Council. This means that Donnie knows the questions to ask to get accountability for our tax dollars. Donnie Funk is a strong advocate for public safety and will work to ensure police and firefighters, along with all city employees, are well cared for. Join me in voting Funk for 4 on April 7th.
Have you ever wondered what factors go into creating your FICO score? If so, you're not alone. Score a Better Future is an exciting nationwide program created by FICO, the company which developed the FICO score used in over 90% of all credit granting decisions by lenders. In partnership with local nonprofit organizations, the next Score a Better Future financial community education event is coming to Kansas City. This free event will be held at the Bruce R. Watkins Cultural Heritage Center at 3700 Blue Parkway on March 19th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Hear from FICO experts, gain access to your FICO score for free, and get one-on-one counseling from local nonprofit credit counselors. Dinner is also free, and Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver from the 5th District will be speaking. Don't miss out. Spots will go fast, so go to www.fico.com/SABF to reserve your spot today. It's time to score a better future for you and your family.
All right, Kim, we're going to stick with you and kind of move to the thinking forward thing. You made a comment. We're gonna turn to the equity plan. Okay. and that process as we're going through it. You talked in your questionnaire about your experience with it. Would you relate that to us at this point? It's like tell us what you've gone through so far, and then how you think that's going to play into what you're doing going forward. Okay.
I think you have to go back to the first vote on the equity plan. And honestly, I'm a person who has to have all of the information laid out before me. I need to know all the facts before I vote on an issue. And I just really felt like we were supposed to have a work session prior to that session, that full board meeting that we voted, and we did not get that work session. So we did not have ample opportunity to ask all the questions that we needed to have asked. And so when it came to the actual board meeting, my vote was a no because of my lack of information on that issue. And so that's just a personal standard of mine, is I'm not going to vote yes on something when I still have unanswered questions and I don't have all the facts. So that was my reasoning for that. I don't feel like that I made that stance perfectly clear on that vote, and I have to own that myself. But that's why when we came back later, we had the ample opportunity to get that information. And we were given that opportunity to talk to the committee, to look at the curriculum, to ask questions, got all the questions answered. That's when we came back, we took a second vote, and I voted yes.
I'm gonna jump in and let's fast forward a little bit, and the process has started. There has been some training going on. You've been a part of it so far. So catch us up a little bit. What have you seen? Mm-hmm. What is your reaction so far to that training?
Okay, the board's had 2 sessions that we've been trained by EEC. I've been very pleased with that training myself, and I've read all of the feedback from our staff members who have been a part of that training, and that's been very positive too. Moving forward, I think the big question is, are we going to continue the EC training? If all of the feedback keeps coming back in the positive as it has been, I will be for that. And I want to say, on a personal note, that training has really helped open my eyes on a few issues. I'll give you the perfect example. I was asked to go be a mystery reader at Hawthorne Hill this past week.
Do you have to like hide behind a screen or something?
No, I don't. There's just a new face coming in and
reading
to first graders. But the EEC training helped me understand that students of color need to see themselves in their curriculum. That's one of the points that I learned. And so when I selected the books to take into the classroom to read to the students, I selected a book that was from an African-American writer, and it featured an African-American family. And the kids loved the book. It was called Whistle for Willie. And the kids loved the book, and the teacher said when the kids went out to recess, they were trying to practice whistling. So, but at any rate, that's just one of the things I learned.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Mark, we're going to come to you. You and your questionnaire, you're talking about, you talked about your relationship with the equity plan or the equity process, stating that you wanted it without regard to race, religion, or gender. Isn't that actually equality and not equity?
It is. And it's more about opportunity. I mean, so much of the equity discussion seems to be towards the African American. And I think the district has a fair number of Hispanics and other cultures that have to be included in the discussion.
Well, sure. Okay, so are you advocating then, and this was unclear in your answer, are you advocating for something sort of generic equity program, or are you acting, one of the things that the equity plan states when you pull up the document and are looking through there, they talk about a reference to culturally relevant education, which is kind of what you hinted at. Mm-hmm. So are you advocating for that, or are you advocating for, and I hate to use the phrase, colorblind education in that regard?
You know, I think what needs to occur is the data needs to be analyzed, and when and looking at the data and the results, and then go forward from there. I wouldn't support a colorblind type situation. I would support a situation that is specifically tailored to the areas that are deficient.
Awesome. All right, Matt, we're going to switch over to you, and you're getting make sure you're close to the microphone face from Nick over there. All right, you noted here, one of your things when you talked about the equity is to make sure that we address equity in all backgrounds. Are you, in your opinion, have we been remiss in addressing any backgrounds that are out there so far?
Well, I think, I'm in the schools, and my kids go to some of the more diverse schools in the Lee Summit District, and we have kids that come in from all walks of life. And, when we focused on this equity plan last year, obviously we were tying into the achievement gap, but we were so focused on just one aspect of it being the race. And I'm the type of guy that I'm a numbers guy, and I want measurable outcomes. When we look at the achievement gap, we've got all types of kids falling through the cracks with the achievement gap. And, race and this equity plan is probably a piece of that, but it's just a piece of it. There are so many other pieces with socioeconomic backgrounds. What do these child's home lives look like? When did they enter our system? I think that's a big thing. Kids that go through a pre-K system, show that they're much less likely to not fall into the achievement gap. So I think when we're looking at this picture, so far, I've heard great things about the EC feedback. The few people I've talked to, I'm not as much in the know as Kim is, but I really honestly haven't heard any negative feedback. And I think we need to continue with those type of programs because it does open our eyes to some of these issues that go on that we maybe aren't consciously aware of. But at the same time, we have to look at the other causative factors and we have to address the problem as a whole. So, because I think when we single out one group, that's where we get this discord and we're effectively doing what we're advocating not doing. We're leaving other groups out.
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's anything in the equity plan proper that was leaving any of those groups out. I think that it attempted to be broad. I think a lot of the conversation centered around race because I think the primacy that the then superintendent placed upon race as a causative factor in that whole thing. But moving past that, I'm sorry, I don't want to get off on. It's not about me. This is about you guys.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in actually. All three of you just talked about data and reviewing and wondering. So let's get to as we push forward. Once the election's over, we'll be nearing that first year of the contract. It was a 1-year contract with the EEC for this training. So how will you judge? How will you evaluate what the training has done? Whether it's worth bringing them back for more, whether it's worth adjusting that plan. What are the things that you guys are going to be looking at if you're elected and you have a seat on that dais? And Mark, I'm going to start with you.
I would say probably get staff input and find out from the classroom teachers if there is in fact benefit in this type of training.
Okay. I guess we'll go, Matt, we'll go to you and then we'll let Kim finish up.
I'm going to echo his sentiments. I think one of the biggest things, anytime we're looking at new programs on any lines, it's incumbent upon us to listen to our troops on the ground, and that's our teachers and paras and staffs in the classrooms. How is that impacting their ability to do what they need to do? And I think that feedback is critical, and I think the board and existing board need to engage the staff on that level, whether it be through the administration or whatnot. But staff feedback is incumbent.
One of the things you've mentioned in your answers, and I think they were mentioned in other answers as well, is that you want the outcomes to be measurable.
Well,
and one of the things the EEC told us when they came that I think at least initially that those are really hard to come by. So how do you make that, how do you match that up?
No, and I had a hard time with that whenever, they gave that proposal, like, we don't really have any measurable outcomes, but I'm also not naive. I mean, I'm realistic. You having staff feedback, whether it's positive or negative, is a measurable outcome. So there is a way to, put, while it's not statistically measurable, you can still measure it. Is it being effective? I mean, teacher input is, what their feedback is definitely a measurable outcome.
All right, well, Kim, let's come to you. So what are when you guys signed the deal, what kind of outcomes were you looking for, and are they still the same now to you now that they were then?
I think it goes to sort of, I want to say some soft skills in a way. When you receive the training, you learn things like about all different types of people and situations. It might be people with handicaps. It might be people with, it might be ageism. There's all different ways that we can have prejudices, okay? And I think what that does is it opens your eyes to that. And I think it helps all of our staff, whether it's a district office administrator who's doing hiring, or whether it's a classroom teacher who has those little kiddos or the bigger kiddos in their classes, and it helps them understand and start to see in a different way those kids, and so that you're trying to understand just different kinds of differences and be aware of that, because there are ways that it's called unconscious bias. All right, we learn lots of terminology, but we all have it. And I don't think that we realize we have it until somebody points it out to us. And I think that's one thing, is once the teachers have and the staff members have that pointed out to them, then they can sort of get a handle on that and understand it. Because, if I would have asked to be a mystery reader last year and picked 2 books off of my grandkids' bookshelf to read, I probably would have not chosen the books that I chose this time. Because I've had that training, and now I'm thinking in my brain. It made me aware so that I can go forward and try to find literature that's relevant to all kids in that room.
Awesome. Well, we, in this podcast, we have one very, very conscious bias.
We do have one. Before we get to it, I just want to thank Kim, Mark, Matt, thank you very much for
been a very
joining
good
us. Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. That's one thing we want people to get involved. So thank you guys for doing that. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time. This is the one point where we will judge you.
judging time.
I'm going to start Mark. I'm going to go Mark. I'm going to go Kim. And then Matt, you get the final word. You get the final try. If I were to put 2 plates in front of you, one of them has tacos and one of them has burgers, which one are you picking up?
Tacos.
That is the right
That is the
answer.
correct answer.
Kim?
Definitely tacos.
All right.
Matt?
Are you gonna go out
I
there?
don't eat burgers or tacos, so I'm going to give them both back to you.
Oh my god! Oh, wow.
Wow, that could be worse.
That was. I thought we couldn't come
he
up with the
didn't-
worse answer than we got the last
You know,
time.
we
and yet, here
had
we
somebody
are.
go political
Tacos.
answer last time. Tacos, there it
There we
is.
go.
We had somebody try to go political, not choose last time. So but wow, that was gutsy.
Maybe Matt would like veggie tacos or something.
But see, that's what makes it better.
Okay.
Is
Because
you can do
veggie-
veggie tacos.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming
Thank you.
and
Thank
taking
you
time
for
with
having
us.
us.
And I'm going to say this to everyone, but good luck in the election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We
for
will
having
talk to everybody on Monday. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with host Nick Parker, a proud member of the Fredcast Network. You can subscribe to this podcast on most podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all of the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.